1578 Latimer Lane, Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'm going to approach this by a little bit different perspective. Our family owned the property starting about 1790 up to about midpoint of the 1800s when it passed out of the family, that particular portion of it. Some of it still remains in the family that fronts along Hollow Pike, but it's a very old historic house. And I don't think a lot of people know all the history behind that house. Jonathan Latimer served in the Connecticut militia. He was a colonel in the Revolutionary War. He saw action in several notable engagements. He served in the French and Indian War before that. He was notably at Saratoga, where he played a pivotal point in holding the British off Washington's flank and actually turned the battle. That battle was a pivotal point in the Revolutionary War because when the Americans won that, the French saw that they were a viable force and came in on the side of the colonies. So that was a pretty pivotal point. Also, later toward the end of the Revolution, he was in charge of the defenses of Connecticut, New London. Skip my mind. New London, Connecticut, when a former friend of his, former commander of his, Benedict Arnold, burned the town of New London, Connecticut. So he came up in relief once, and the British had moved out. He came up in relief of that. And then after the war, they located to the Tennessee frontier. Bought 650 acres over there between Station Camp and what's now Latimer Lane, running all the way back to Brinkley Branch, which Tommy discovered a few years ago. That's where the colonel is probably buried now. We didn't know where he was buried. He has a marker at the beach cemetery, but he's probably buried over there in an old family plot. Once he got here, his sons continued fighting on the behalf of the United States. He had one son, Nathaniel, who was killed at the Battle of Rock Island when a group of marauding braves came in and were stealing horses. They chased him there. He was killed at the Battle of Rock Island. Another of his sons, Witherell, was at Buchanan Station at Nashville, which, if y'all know, the Indians were sent to wipe out the city of Nashville. They sent a large force of Indians to wipe out the city of Nashville. He was one of the 15 men in the blockhouse that held off that Indian raid and repulsed it off and allowed, Nashville to still be in existence. Now, I've always known the Brown house was there. When I was a little boy, I knew it was my ancestor, Charles. Charles was one of Jonathan's sons, who also, he had about 3 or 4 sons served with him in the Revolution.
4, and one that served as a fifer.
Yeah.
He was too young.
So they put in quite a bit of service there. So I always knew that was going back to my grandfather's house. I actually met Mr. Brown before and went inside the house and didn't even realize it had been sold or deeded or anything until later. And I know that he made allowances in his will to take care of the house. And this is beyond a political issue. It is a right and wrong issue. I mean, that house should have been preserved when Mr. Brown passed away. They should have taken the steps to get in there and preserve that house now. Tommy has got some pictures showing the inside of the house when Mr. Brown was still alive, and that house was immaculate. That house is the late 1700s, early 1800s, the latest, so it's one of probably the oldest houses in Sumner County. And we have not in the past done a great job of protecting our old houses. The Hancock house, the Halfway house, they're just a memory now. So it's something that needs to be addressed, and something when you take care of his wishes and preserve that house. It's a great historical, place that a lot of people do not even realize the historical connections it has. Thank y'all for letting me talk. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. Tommy will give you much more in detail. He's very detailed as far as the genealogical history of the Latimers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. So Tommy Latimer, would you like to go next? You can come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Tommy Latimer, 264 Esther Road, Portland. I guess I'm the unofficial Latimer historian. Everything Jimmy said is right, except the Battle of New London wasn't much of a battle. A few hundred Connecticut farm boys against thousands of British regulars, and the town was burned. And since Colonel Johnson was court-martialed over that deal. He was exonerated, but I think he kind of left a bitter taste in his mouth. Because in 1790, he left Connecticut, sold all of his property there, came down here and he bought this 640 acres from Daniel James. Now, Daniel James didn't have that property but about a year. He got it in 1789 through a land grant from the state of North Carolina, which this was North Carolina at that time. And Jimmy told about his son getting killed up at Rock Island, so I'll skip that. After, let's see, in January 1797, Colonel Johnson got an opportunity to buy 2 tracts of 640 acres over the edge of Robertson County. It's in the area between White House and Cross Plains. When he bought that, he gave all this property, this 640 acres, plus a little 50-acre land grant he got, to 3 of his sons, and those 3 orphan grandchildren that their dad had got killed fighting Indians. Charles got the south end of it. Now, this was in April of 1797, and Charles, I don't know when he built the house. He died in 1827, so he built it during that 30 years, and I think very early in that. I'm guessing between 97 and 1800. And the house is actually older than the Hermitage. Of course, Hermitage has been 4 different Hermitages, but it's older than at least 2 of them, and maybe even 3. But Charles, the land stayed in the Latimer family from 1790 until 1910. Come through Charles, his son Oliver, Oliver's daughter Harriet, that never married and stayed with Oliver and his wife, took care of her parents. And when she died, 3 of her brothers, which she left no heirs, 3 of her brothers stepped in and sold the property. And that's when it went out of the Latimer family. And it went into the Griffin family. And it went from, the names changed, but it stayed in the Griffin family until Mr. Brown's wife and her first husband bought it. That was in 1960, so 50-some years it stayed in the Griffin family. Not necessarily Griffin names, but you could read the deeds. It'll say, for and in consideration of $5, I transfer it, or $10. Sometimes some of the deeds says, for love and affection of my son or daughter, but it stayed in that family until Mr. Brown bought it, or Ms. Brown and her first husband. After her husband died, she married Mr. Brown, and they transferred, I think in 1979, that they transferred, put his name on the deed. So I met Mr. and Ms. Brown. I moved back here from Florida in 96, and shortly after that, I was doing some research and met them. And Mr. Brown asked me if I could trace that property back, and I did, and gave him a copy of it. And he supposedly, he said he gave a copy to Dr. Phillips when he was superintendent of schools.
What year was that? What year?
What year did he gave it to him? 2 or 3 years before they made the deed. I'm guessing somewhere 13, 12, 13. Lost my train of thought.
Sorry about that.
I've had a stroke a few years ago. My memory's not too good. But Mr. Brown's wishes was that the house be preserved. That was the deal behind the whole thing. He wanted the house preserved. And it's sad, I drive by there now, I see 3 beautiful new schools. Nothing wrong with the schools, that's fine. But nothing has been done to the house. And that's my whole interest in this. I would love to see that house preserved. that house is, like Gina said, one of the older houses in this county. I'm not gonna say the oldest, but one of the older. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mike McLeod?
Yeah, I'll be happy to be. I'm not gonna be anywhere near as good as these two gentlemen or have a history behind it. Mike McLeod, 102 Tioga Trail. If you wanna know where that's at, you go to the elementary school over there, walk into the playground, walk the sidewalk up to our neighborhood, and you're gonna walk into my front yard. That's where I'm at. We've been out there 34 years, and the only thing on that side of the fence at that time was Mr. Brown and his cows. I met Mr. Brown a few times, most of the time when he was out working his cows and I was working in the yard. Didn't know him very well, but I did get the impression that when he wanted something done a particular way, that's how he wanted it done. And for the $500,000 not to be used to protect that house is, as a friend of mine said, that's just almost criminal. And if it isn't used properly, it will be criminal. And I guess I come from a different era. I grew up, in the 50s and 60s where, you took your hat off when you went in the house, you wore nice clothes to church, and, family was important to everybody. And if a will was drawn, everybody made sure that the specifics of the will were carried out. So do the right thing, guys and ladies. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. All right, next up is Miss Cynthia McLeod.
Hi, my name is Cynthia McLeod. I live at 102 Tioga Trail. I'm his better half.
She is.
We've raised 3 boys in our house. We were neighbors of the Browns, like he said. I guess, first of all, does anybody need a copy of the testimony? Will? I'm going to read what it says very quickly. I, William Brown, a resident of Sumner County, having heretofore made and published my last will and testament, which bears the date of October the 1st, 2015. The Codicil, item number B-1, I specifically bequeath to Sumner County, Tennessee, the county, the cash sum of $500,000 to establish, maintain a public park located at 212 Hunters Lane, Hendersonville, Tennessee, with the historic home currently situated thereon being permanently maintained by the county as the park's centerpiece. The park shall be known as the William and Martha Brown Park. This bequest shall be a restricted fund held by the county in a separate account and used solely for the purposes of the establishment, promotion, ongoing support, and maintenance of the William and Martha Brown Park. When I looked at the copy of the budget, there is, within the budget, the $500,000, I'm assuming, unless there's an account of $500,000 somewhere in Sumner County, and if anybody knows, please raise your hand. But I'm assuming the $500,000 is pieced in this $1.25 million. Landscape, nature trails, amphitheater, parking lot, there's so many things in this budget. $100,000 for an amphitheater, $140,000 for a parking lot. You look at the other schools in Sumner County, Beach, Hendersonville, Portland, Westmoreland, none of these schools get this. Mr. Brown wanted $500,000 specifically to maintain his home. for a park, not a fun factory. And that's what it's turning out to be. I just found out about this about 2 weeks ago, and I'm highly upset. And if the $500,000 doesn't go to his home to maintain and preserve it, it is criminal. And I'm sure there will be questions raised. We all have attorney friends, we have lawyer friends, and we're not scared to use them. If anybody needs a copy of the budget, does everybody have a copy of the budget?
It's in the agenda.
It's in the agenda? I don't have a copy of the agenda.
Be careful what you ask for.
No. I don't want that. I'll just use it as scratch paper at home. And I just feel like when I have a will, my last will and testament will be used appropriately by my wishes and not some government to change the will that I don't know anything about because I'm dead.
That would be true.
Come back and haunt them.
Oh, I will.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Okay, about 12 more seconds.
Okay, 12 more seconds,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. I would also like to make a point that Scott Langford, in one of his quotes, he said the Liberty Creek school system will be the gold standard for the Sumner County schools. I'm wondering where Scott Langford is. I'm wondering where Isabel is. I don't know who has the money today. Do they have the money today? Where's the money? Where's the $500,000? This should have been, the man died in 2017. The maintenance of the home, the repairs of the home should have been started in 2017 when the will was printed. But it hasn't been touched. And we live next door to it. Sometimes we get on our gator and we go down to the school and we look at it. And it's in shambles. It's embarrassing. And you know what? I have a feeling that this is just a feeling that I have. They're gonna claim that the house is beyond repair. It's gonna rot. Let's just bulldoze it down. That's my fear. That is not Langford's wish. So whatever it takes, out of this stupid budget right here to repair his home, let's do it. And I mean do it now, do it right. That's
Thank
all
you.
I have to say.
Thank you. Miss Karen Atkinson, you mind state your name and address for the record?
It's okay.
That's all right.
Karen Atkinson and my husband Greg are out here tonight. We live at 112 Ridgemore Trail, Hendersonville. So we're right around the corner from Cindy and Mike and the school, which is awesome. My kids are already grown, my 3 sons are grown. But we've been there for 36 years. So we've seen that house, every day, going in and out, just driving. And I did go to the house to see the inside when there was an estate sale, just because I'd never been inside, and I was just fascinated by how cool it looked. It's just older. And I'm old, I'm 75, so I see my parents, family in homes like that. And this, I don't get this either. I don't get it. I mean, geez. My husband's self-employed. He could bid on some of this stuff. I swear to God, you do a whole lot better. These prices are just, I don't know, it's just very upsetting. And the fact that he said that this is what I want. This is what I want done with my home and my money. And expected people to follow out his wishes because that's the law. I mean, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Anthony Jones.
My dad always told me it's better to be seen and not heard. So if you hear it in my voice, I hope you understand where my allegiance is. I have been there 40 years this year. My property borders Liberty Creek Schools on two sides. The only thing between me and Liberty Creek Schools is a wore-out, tore-up fence. I understand Mr. Brown's wishes. I applaud him. For somebody to do what he did, to donate $500,000 for his house, needs to be done. It needs to be fixed now, not wait on. The $8 million or however much is left out of that bunch, if $500,000 don't touch fixing his house, take some of the money out of the $8 million to restore his wishes. Okay? Do what the man asked. To be the largest donor in this county in the history, do what the man asked. Any of the people that came before him that are noted in this county, such as yourself, and I respect you, sir. Greatly admire you and respect you. Unbelievable how much I respect you, and I've never told you that. My issues with the county school system, take care of things first. I'm dealing with a water issue since 2017, and it's gotten really bad over the years. The retention pond that the county put in comes into my fence closer than you and I are. And it floods me out. It floods my pond. It floods my neighbors on Upper Station Camp. I've got 90 pictures and 28 videos since 2020 of every time it's happened. I've been in front of Dale Phillips. We want to be good Phillips. Dale Phillips told me numerous times, we want to be good neighbors, good neighbors. Scott Langford, good neighbors. We want to be good neighbors. We're going to make it right. I'm still dealing with the floods. The point I'm trying to make, fix the other problems first before you go to spending this kind of money. That $500,000 is not in this bunch. If you can do the math real quick, you'll find out real quick that $500,000 for Mr. Brown, which I had met a couple of times since I've ordered him. Usually when a cow got out, or a bull got out, or either one of his got out, I don't know how much history you know about this. And it seems like you know an awful lot. But Cecil Keesley used to have the 3 farms around me, and we had gates around all of us, where he could run one cow from my farm to his farm, to Mr. Brown's farm, to Miss Green's place. And I don't know how far down he could go, if he could go to Brinkley Branch all the way with a cow that got out. We dealt with that for years, for a very, very long time. And Mr. Brown was always very cordial and very nice. So, fix the Brown house. The walking trails or all the others, or the parks, or the amphitheater, that's a luxury item, especially the amphitheater. Do we need an amphitheater out there? I don't think so. I get the pleasure of seeing the lights of the school till midnight, every night. I get to look out my window. I don't have to have lights at my house. I've got enough lights for my schools. Lights go off at midnight and they come back on about 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning. I get to listen to every time they have a function at the school. I get to hear the music, the rap music. I asked Dr. Phillips one day, I said, what's that rap music doing to them cows? Why, it's scaring the hell out of them. I said, sure it is. Now, if that cow gets out and runs through a fence because somebody's playing rap music over there, that's going to be my problem. So I've asked them to tone down the music just a little bit or play some other kind of music, but that hasn't happened yet. The other point I want to ask you, if you do it for Liberty Creek, it should have been done for Merle Heights High School. It should have been done for Westmoreland. It should have been done for Portland. It should have been done for every county school system in the county, not only just Liberty Creek. You need to, no favoritism. It's real easy, black and white. Everybody's treated the same. And that's the way it ought to be. Treat everybody the same. So I'm asking you, don't approve this until you fix the existing problems that they've already created. I am told that I've got 500,000 gallons of water coming on me in one spot that I didn't have before. And the pictures prove it. My pictures can prove it. I've done been through these civil engineers and attorneys and all this other stuff. And the only ones that have helped me are some of the people that are sitting at that table. And I'm very thankful. I'm very appreciative of it. But we need help. Don't approve something that doesn't need to be. This does not need to happen.
Thank you.
Please, don't put the cart in front of the horse. I've been thinking about it. Things like this.
30 more seconds.
When you make a cake, do you put the icing on first, or do you put the cake down, then put the icing around it? If you go look at a car, do you want a car with all the luxuries items, or do you want the one that you can start and drive down the road and get you back home? So, don't put the icing on the cake first. Start with the cake first, then put the icing on it. But if you put the icing on it, I want a piece of it to go to each school, every one of them. And this money that's been allocated, that Mr. Brown asked for, it does not need to go all to Liberty Creek. It needs to go to every school system in this county. I don't have a problem with that. Whether it's Beach or Myrtle High or White House or Portland or Westmoreland, everybody needs to be treated equally, the same, the very same. Not a minute's difference in it.
Thank you. Miss Elizabeth Michael? Is it Elizabeth Michael?
My name is Elizabeth Michael. I live at 1745A Garrison Branch Road, Cottontown. Do any of you people play chess? Anyone in the room, in the whole room, anybody play chess? You a little bit, you some? Can either of you gentlemen tell me why a grandmaster will not play with an unorthodox player?
Unpredictable.
Bingo, unpredictable. I find it very interesting that in all the posts I've seen, in all of the comments I have seen, everybody keeps saying there's no family left. Guess what? There is.
All right.
My great-grandmother was the aunt of William. We share the same great-great-grandfather. And I'm looking for other family members that I know are out there. And I have one thing to say to Mr. Phillips. One thing. Comply or end up in court. Because I am about to throw a monkey wrench in everything. I'm going to go see a probate lawyer. And I will make Mr. Phillips and Mr. Holt and Mr. Langford return every dime. And then I will make sure this house is taken care of. I will make sure this park is put together the way it's supposed to be. And then I will turn it over to the county for it to be taken care of the way it should be. And it's not going back to the school system. Because my cousin wanted this park with the house as the centerpiece. With the house as the centerpiece. Now, yes, this was done, here's my grounds for fighting. That will was changed. My grandmother knew William. I didn't get to because my mother kept me away from everybody. But my grandmother knew William. And she said he wouldn't have made that kind of change without something either being said or done to him. Because like you gentlemen said, you knew him, and if he wanted something done, he got it done that way. That way. Now this second change may be what he wanted ultimately. But it raises the question, what was the will before it was changed, before the codicil was brought out? And who said what to him to get him to make that codicil? Those are my questions. But I know I'm not going to find the answer to that last one. But the second one, that monkey wrench at this point is huge. And like I said, I'm looking for other family members because I know they're out there. Because I know my grandmother had several brothers. And William was her nephew. My grandfather, who was her son, had several siblings. So even though their last name is Hardison, they're still Browns. And there were a lot of them. Because she was only a Hardison by marriage. I'm only a Michael by marriage. I'm a Hardison and a Brown by blood. I'm also a Garrison by blood. So my family, whether it's the Browns or the Garrisons or the Hardisons, have been in this area for over 200 years, and I've got a cemetery to prove it. Because the cemetery on my property goes way back into the 1800s. And I've got pictures of all the headstones. So family, you got plenty of it. I just have to track them all down. And these gentlemen that aren't wanting to give up the money to take care of this house and get it fixed, I'm going to hold them responsible. Because a lot of us are done with this mess. Now, I'm a mom of 4. And I got that Carol Burnett look going. My kids know if I'm speaking French, they're fine. But my kids know if the Carol Burnett look comes out and mom's speaking German, they better straighten their butts up or forelegs is going across their tuck. Well, I think it's about time the rest of us need to start getting that Carol Burnett look going and start speaking German because these guys aren't doing it. Thank you.
All right, Miss Diane Stinson.
Hi, I'm Diane Stinson. I live at 1011 Lindell in Castaic Springs. I am a descendant of Charles Latimer. He was my 5th great-grandfather, and it hurts me to think that this home that he built is sitting and falling apart because the money is not being spent correctly. It's not being, nothing's happening to the house. And I agree. This is turning very criminal. And if something's not done soon to this house, legal action is coming. So, and I know a lot of people. I've retired from the state court system. So I'm more than willing and ready to do what I need to do. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Stinson. Kevin Baker.
Oh, boy. Where do I start? Kevin Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road. You know, it was interesting to hear the history, and you can tell I'm not from here. But I'm a Connecticut Yankee, just like your forefathers. We got here as soon as we could. And for the last 10 years plus, we sat in this room, my wife and I, by ourselves. It is so humbling and reassuring to see you all show up. This is why we've been fighting. We sent a letter to the Attorney General when this property was bought to investigate this because there were just so many things that just didn't fit with the character of the, and we were only here a couple of years, it made no sense. So I applaud you all, and I'm getting goosebumps. You know, I heard what one of you said about that there's schools now on this property. I bet those schools could learn a hell of a lot if they listened to what that house said.
Yes.
The history. But we've forgotten that. We've got a bunch of leftists running our schools now that don't give a damn about the blood, sweat, and tears of the people that made this country. And you all have heard this many times, so I'm preaching to the choir. And these people are not the problem. They're on your side. That $500,000, that's like a drop in a bucket compared to what's going to be needed to maintain this house and do it properly. To be building amphitheaters, it's ridiculous to me. You know, the same former people, Anthony Holt-led people, wanted to fix up a stone barn. We have a house that's older than that stone barn, and they're going to just let it go to rot. It makes no sense. My heart is warm to see this, and it's why we moved here, for people like y'all. And so, but if anything we have that we can share with you of the digging into stuff, we're more than willing to help you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brady.